IVM.
Out here on the Geek Fruit podcast, we spend a lot of time talking about superheroes, pop culture, who would win in a fight, that kind of thing. But there's a couple of things in life that are slightly more important, like economics and politics. They only determine the course of the entire earth. So if you want to know more about economics and politics, or are interested in them already and want to hear some experts talking about it, you should be checking out the Pragati podcast with hosts Pawan and Hamsini. You can listen to it on the IVM podcast website, app, or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit podcast. With me today, Tejas. I have Navin on the show, who's our producer as well.
Yes, and I have blue hair now.
You have blue hair also, yeah. I wish you could see that.
Only.
But with blue spectacles, we have Dinkar. Hi, what's
Puppy
up?
power.
Yeah. Oh no, what a way, what a terrible way to start the show.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So we're continuing.
Let's scrappy do this episode.
Okay, very good. Good one. We're going to continue from where we left off in our previous installment of What a Cartoon episode. We spoke about the origins of animation and animated
Should be What
series.
a Cartoon episodes really now.
So that's the name of this episode.
Yeah. The sequel.
The sequel.
And the third one is 3 cartoon, 3 episode.
Oh god. Alright. Cool. So we're going to talk about the era which I think maybe we're most familiar with, which is the 80s and 90s. Now, just to begin this, do you ever feel like, and I feel like we may have brought this up in the first episode as well, is that when we saw these shows, which we're going to talk about in this, we were basically catching all the reruns of them, but we couldn't really tell the difference at that time, right? Could you tell the difference between like a Hanna-Barbera, like a Top Cat at that time, Flintstones, and then like a SWAT Cat? Like for me, when I was growing up, it was all like it was just cartoons, like
exactly
across the board, right? And we didn't know how to really separate the era as well as now. You know, we're obviously very cognizant of it, the animation styles, etc. But like back then, I don't know how kids are today, but like for me, watching Huckleberry Hound and watching Centurions, for me, I was never going to go like, Huckleberry is so lame compared to like
I think there was a way of finding it out based on how the Hanna-Barbera end tag would show up.
True.
Like in the later years, it was tang 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 tang, and all the bigger cartoons from the early ages would like run around each other and like go into a circle.
Yeah.
So it was.
I remember those little Cartoon Network.
In the Flintstones one, it was very simplistic. Like ting, and then that's how Hanna-Barbera used to show up.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I kind of made sense
Fair
of
enough,
it.
yeah,
But could you make that out when you were a kid though? Because you can kind of tell that there's different styles, but I don't know, animation is kind of timeless.
I was a very observant kid, I think.
No, but you're right. No, that's actually a really smart way of being able to tell. But I think also just for us, it was all animation. They all just meant we were not doing homework at that time.
Yeah,
that's true.
Just watching it.
And it's great color palettes.
Awesome, yeah. And just like I don't know why, I just never felt the difference. I always knew that there were the cool cartoons like, either it was Centurions or whatever, Captain Planet was happening.
There were genres. There were like your fighting cartoons, your funny cartoons.
Yeah. And then the funny ones were just like, I wouldn't ever mind watching Top Cat ever because it was just funny, man. It was just good quality humor. So I felt like today I have a fairly comprehensive list, I want to say, which we can go through.
As comprehensive as we can get, I suppose.
At least, yeah. Because, man, I was telling you this before coming in for this episode. I was just like, my gosh, there is so much more content. There's so many more shows just by nature of this becoming a thing by the time the 80s roll around. Like in the beginning, the 50s, 60s, we were still doing animated shorts.
Yeah.
We were still in theaters, as we mentioned last time. This time, it was just like now everyone kind of got wind of the entire formula working, and the Saturday morning cartoon was born. And so we got like a bunch of and you're right, we could categorize them. Like some of them were like the funny shows, which were just like silly comedy.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were like action shows or fighting shows and like Transformers and stuff. So let's kind of talk about
the hero formula came
the hero formula, the superhero formula, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those. Spider-Man and his amazing friends, the one which we know from all the memes where that post gave me cancer. It's just Spider-Man in a hospital bed. Yeah, but like I think Spider-Man and his amazing friends obviously was I want to say was not really my introduction to Spider-Man. because I did watch the Fox Spider-Man, which we'll also get to.
Before this one, right?
I
think so. Because they kind of aired around each other.
Yeah, so this Fox's Spider-Man, which was like arguably one of the best iterations of Spider-Man and Peter Parker, because it was the Fox shows was just so faithful to the source material, right?
Yeah.
They did all the arcs over several episodes and stuff. But Spider-Man Amazing Friends, first of all, had a really weird lineup. It had Spider-Man, obviously Peter Parker, and it had Bobby Drake, Iceman, okay, who's, I don't know, been ousted from the X-Men, it seems, but he's been hanging out with him.
He's just friends with Peter Parker.
I think he was very easy to animate back then.
Probably.
Because just like white and just like Washington in a straight line.
And the other hilarious thing is that I was watching an episode before coming. He was voiced by Frank Welker, who is Fred in the Scooby-Doo gang. So, so it's just hilarious. He's just like, hey, Spider-Man, I can't even just do it, but it was just so funny. I was like, shouldn't you be in the Mystery Machine right now? But so it was him. And the third character, which they invented for the show, I had no idea, which you can add to our list of animated characters that were created first for animation for television and then made it to comics, which was Firestar, which I had no idea. So that was pretty cool.
I didn't know he wasn't a comics guy.
She,
Firestar,
yes.
Firestar.
So I didn't know that she was in the she was first on this show and then kind of graduated to comic books. So it was cool.
They didn't always pop up, right? Both of them.
No, all three of them are always on every episode.
In those shots.
No, in the entire 22-minute episode, like the three of them are the stars of the show. Spider-Man is Amazing Friends.
Okay.
And then he has more amazing friends, which like Captain America would show up. Doctor Strange was in some episodes.
I don't know any of this. When did
and
all
all
this happen?
squiggly drawn, like, just, like very weird looking.
And I mean, like they kept the animation quite like, I mean, like the look of the characters were quite similar, but like the adventures they go on were quite hilarious. Because again, this is in the 80s.
Yeah.
So the 80s animation from the comics.
This was the start of your like super cheap animation where they reused
the cycle, like He-Man. Oh my gosh, we'll get to that. The most shameless production after watching some of it. This is absolutely shameless. But in this Spider-Man, what do you call it? Wolverine is there, and this is the funniest thing which I just found out by watching a Watch Mojo clip. Wolverine in this show has an Australian accent, like Hugh Jackman.
What?
Yeah. And he's just like, how's it going?
Do you think that's why Hugh Jackman was cast? Like, the guys who were casting Wolverine saw that clip and were like, wait a second, I have an idea.
To the original character. But yeah, man.
I don't remember any of this. I think my memories of whatever little memories I had of the show have been replaced by memes now.
Yeah, this is true. Sometimes, you watch something, you forget the original way it came into your memory. But yeah, I think...
I do remember you could always see the show and like you could tell even as a kid that the animation is like super janky.
Yeah, it was poor.
Like for the longest time I could not figure out if he's talking as Spider-Man or what is the narrative going around. Because he was just like, there's a wall crawling guy and his face is sideways and he's like doing this, and then he goes up and then like spider sense tingles, so there's like lines,
those little
around,
lines pop out,
or squiggly around him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now he's talking. So
it's like they animated a poorly drawn newspaper comic.
But I think
it set a benchmark.
I'll tell you what did set a benchmark, which was the next show, which obviously was by Disney, because Disney's quality has always been like way up, and that's Ducktales, which actually happened in the, I want to say, late 80s. Yeah, woo.
You have to do that every time you say the name.
Who did the theme song, man? That is one of the best theme songs ever.
I read this whole thing about the guy because for the Ducktales reboot, they sort of redid the theme song, and then they had this like a video of the entire voice cast singing the old song.
Abed and these guys,
It's it's not an otherwise famous guy like some of the other theme songs we'll come to. He's a composer for like comics and cartoons in general.
Right.
But I read this like whole article about how he came up with it, and it's a pretty like technically weird song also.
Mark
Mueller, correct.
Dude, is he Swedish? Because that's where all the pop hits come from. Sorry.
There's a Vanity Fair article which says the story of DuckTales.
Exactly, that's the one I'm talking about.
Catchiest single minute of music. We'll link it with the show.
There's some really good theme songs. Practically, you can categorize or rank them at least by how good their theme songs were. Oh my gosh,
DuckTales is one of the greatest.
Yeah, definitely up there, man. What a theme song, and just the show itself was really, really cool. I mean, it was I don't know, for me it kind of rang as like maybe one of the first few spin-offs technically, because
it's a spin-off of what?
Donald Duck's nephews, right?
Correct.
Or it's his kids or
no,
his nephews?
His nephews.
Whose nephews are they? Because Scrooge McDuck's nephews are also in.
So technically,
They're grand
Scrooge
nephews.
is their grand uncle, but they just call him
right.
Uncle Scrooge because Donald calls him Uncle Scrooge.
Correct. That's a good point.
Scrooge.
Yeah, yeah, and just some of the best adventures and stuff, man. I remember in India, here they used to have comic books with, like Disney used to come up with a volume of comics and stuff, and DuckTales was part of that as well. That's also when I was growing up.
Yeah, the DuckTales comics were also really good.
Really good.
Yeah, I
And
have some of
the
those,
idea for Inception was stolen from them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
a-
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. Oh my gosh.
And DuckTales had such a rich bench of secondary characters
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
The Beagle Boys.
Dude,
the Beagle
the
Boys.
Beagle
Boys.
Boys. Dude,
Launchpad McQuack.
Dude,
He's
Launchpad
the
McQuack.
coolest dude ever.
Yeah.
And was Launchpad, so DuckTales is there. There's also Tailspin.
Yes.
And then there's also Darkwing Duck,
Yeah.
in which Launchpad appears in all three. So
Yeah.
they're all.
Yeah.
And I was reading another really good. So there are a bunch of really great articles on Hollywood Reporter, which I will talk about one in a bit. But they talk about Darkwing Duck and how that kind of didn't stick to the continuity format, and like they say about animated series, like continuity is king or whatever, and just TV series in general, because fans love that kind of stuff. But Darkwing Duck kind of like really just broke off from that, and it kept making more and more origin stories for its same character. For the same character, it would have multiple origin stories. And Launchpad, to kind
Also,
of
what
say,
they effectively did was use a lot of old cartoon animation that they wanted to reuse.
Yeah.
So Tailspin had a lot of Baloo from Mowgli.
Of course, right,
and
right.
Darkwing Duck also had a lot of Donald Duck stuff.
So
Or like that,
so
it
tell me
doesn't.
one thing. In let's get to the bottom of this. In Tailspin, it's the Jungle Book characters.
Yes.
But with Launchpad also.
And it's an alternate universe where they're like city dwellers now.
Yeah, they're kind of city dweller, or like some kind of weird jungle city kind of. It's like South American.
Kind
I
of,
don't
I
even
guess.
know what it is.
What's the
And
lady's
Shere Khan
name
is-
in
Oh gosh, his
in
wife, right?
Tailspin?
Can't remember.
Yeah, she eventually became his wife. At first, she was renting out the space to him.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
and her son come.
Yeah. exactly.
What a complicated love story.
Crazy, man. Pretty crazy. Even in Darkwing Duck, he has his daughter, but there's no mention. So he's a single dad.
He's a
in
single
that.
dad.
Yeah, and
it's a weird show if you think about it. It's
Yeah.
a middle-aged guy trying to be a superhero, and he's got a daughter who's like the smart one. It's an odd concept
Yeah,
for a
it's-
kid's
He's in his
cartoon.
boxers as well usually.
Castle has done that formula, I think.
Yeah, they
Vishnu Castle,
stole it from Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. So DuckTales and these two other Disney shows, really high quality of animation, man. I think just from the theme song right till just the actual the movement of the characters, just really polished. And as a Disney product, just happens
It was
to
a
be
leap
always.
ahead in many ways.
Yeah,
Did
definitely.
you guys ever watch the Hindi versions of these on Disney R?
I couldn't, and the only reason is because Huey, Dewey, and Louie's voice just generally
super
were
annoying.
Yeah, generally were high pitched, but in the Hindi one, it was just like it was like Lata Mangeshkar, like in the 2000s, man. Oh my
Be
gosh.
careful what you
Yeah.
say
Oh,
about her.
that's all done.
You mean
They can't-
amazing?
They can't repeat us. They can't repeat a scandal. Come on.
They're not listening to us anyway.
Also, Asha Bhosle at the ripe old age of 80 singing Khalas is just wrong. So,
Yeah.
so I have many arguments against that. Anyway,
But those Hindi versions, dude, Disney R is how I learned Hindi.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And
know-
movies, maybe.
So I think when I used to come back to India for holidays, and I used to wait until, because I couldn't watch them in Hindi. My Hindi was poor to begin with. It's still not that great.
Maybe
But
if
I-
you'd watch Disney R, it'd be great.
Perhaps if I watched Disney.
You missed a very important leap.
But I ended up staying up really late because of my holidays. I could do whatever I want, except I had to do holiday homework also. So I used to wake up in the middle of the night at 12 o'clock or 1 because we didn't have the dual language option there, right? It would just shift to English. And so like from 1 a.m. to like
Yes,
4
it
a.m. it
would.
would play in English. And so I used to watch that a lot. So yes, that's how I ended up watching it in India at least. I didn't end up watching the screechy DuckTales version. Let's move on. So we take a step backwards in animation and go to He-Man. Do you ever end up watching
And the Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe, yeah.
His friends.
So this was, and I'll get to a much better version of this, which Hasbro kind of perfected. But He-Man was obviously a toy, I think, and they just
was.
made a cheap animated show out of it.
Yeah.
And like so many repeat, like looped animations that they would just keep reusing. I think a lot of these 80s cartoons, like the Spiderman Amazing Friends, He-Man has taken on another role in being the most omnipresent meme in our universe today.
Unfortunately. Though, I mean, the animated cartoon
Yeah.
is, you'd think it'd be great because it's like such classic stereotypical characters. Like
Yeah.
Skeletor is just a great villain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's an
like,
entire
his design was always
documentary
great.
on Netflix now. It's called The Toys That Made Us, and it's basically
wow.
yeah. You don't know about this?
No, I haven't
No,
seen
tell
this.
us.
Oh man, this is the greatest thing. So they go into the whole origin story of Star Wars figurines.
Correct.
G.I. Joe,
I have
Barbie.
a great story for G.I. Joe, which I'm going to
G.I.
talk
Joe,
about.
Barbie, and He-Man.
Oh, nice.
And
Sweet.
basically, what Hasbro, what they were trying to do is basically create a competition for Barbie because Mattel was killing it with Barbie.
Right,
And they wanted some male figurine that was very bulky and because girls were getting very cozy with Barbie, so they wanted a male figure to fight.
Right.
So they just reimagined Conan the Barbarian in one toy.
Yeah, essentially.
Oh,
And
right.
then gave him friends,
That's
and
essentially
then
it.
and then they were like, now how do we sell more of this? They're
And
like,
that
how about we give
ridiculous
them
haircut. Yeah.
and how about we give them more of a house to live in? And then they had the house,
Yeah, a lot of them were dictated by how
Yeah.
they wanted the toys to kind of,
so then they made the corresponding show, and they had no
Wow.
intention of
He-Man,
And they went for the first idea on everything. Oh, what do we call him? He's a guy. He-Man.
Yeah.
Male. Penis.
What is that tiger? It's like
he had the original, the cat with the watermelon on his head.
yeah. So basically, even for that, they did not have. So they used to sell corresponding figurines if you buy one toy.
Yeah.
So they wanted to market him because he can't ride a bike because he's from the whatever
From
age.
the past, yeah.
So then they gave him like a tiger, and then he bulks up, and so they all just went with the flow for that.
Yeah.
It's just the funniest thing to watch.
So
That
that show
transformation sequence at the top is
So
still
what's his,
like
what
the
is this?
top
What is the story? What's the story of He-Man? If you may just quickly.
He's a prince.
He's a prince. What? Adam? Prince something.
Adam.
Prince
Adam,
Adam. And by the power of Grayskull, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
is how he becomes He-Man. He has a sword, and he becomes.
He just raises it into the
he
sky
says,
and shouts,
"By the power of Grayskull, I have the power." I have the power.
I have the power.
I am the power, isn't
He
it?
says, I have the power.
Doesn't matter.
I am the
one
power.
of the two.
Yeah, I have
do
the
it-
power as
just do it
Mastercard, I
again.
think. or
say, I am
Boost.
Is that Visa? Like, I have the power.
Yeah, exactly. Something similar. That's why I
We
said
made
Boost.
fun of Sachin and Lata Mangeshkar in this episode. We are so screwed. Oh no. Shut the show down.
All right, back to Eternia. So, and Skeletor. I wanna
Yes,
say.
of course. The greatest look.
Yeah. One of
That's
the
not bad.
What is this deal? What is the deal? Why does a Skeletor want to conquer Eternia? He just wants to be the ruler, is it?
Yeah, he's just a.
And Prince Adam's the ruler,
he's
so
a
he's like, I
skeleton,
won't have
y'all.
that.
Yeah.
He's like, he's beyond dead, man.
What is He-Man's cat called in his cat version? Something like Freddy Cat.
Or something, yeah, I'm
Yes,
not sure.
something.
But he becomes Dino something, right? Dino something?
Dino Cat?
Dino Cat. Dino Cat? I want to
mean,
say something like that.
We
And
might just.
he's still, and he speaks. He can speak and stuff. And he's like, I'm still looking forward to those desserts. Ah.
Was that his voice?
Something like that. Something bizarre.
Battle Cat.
Battle, of course.
Yeah.
I feel like he had another name.
I
Anyway,
feel like Dino Cat would
for
have
us
been
is
better.
Cringer, and then
He's
is-
Cringer, yes.
and this is Battle Cat.
all right. So we're going to take a small break, okay?
Yeah.
And then we come back and we're going to talk about some of the Hasbro stuff and maybe a little more about Mattel and how they made the perfect loop, which I'll get to in a bit.
Over 47% of online users in India have experienced harassment at some point. So if it's two of us inside this recording studio, chances are pretty high that one of us has faced abuse at some point. How do we tackle this? What do we need to do better? Come, let's learn together. Join me on Akanksha Against Harassment at IVM Podcasts every Thursday. Let's learn how to make online a safe place together.
Defenders of the earth. Defenders. Out of the sky, his rockets ignite. Jets into battle, flying faster than light. Flash Gordon, Lord of the jungle, the hero who stalks. The beast call him brother, the goes to war.
Oh, of course.
Defenders. Master of magic spells and
This is such an 80s song.
Steven Universe.
Defenders of the earth.
No, this is different song.
His strength is a legend. His
So we're watching the animation as well, and all of them seem so familiar, and yet I can't place them, other than like your Phantom and Mandrake. Who's the third dude?
Lothar. Oh, no. The third one is Mandrake.
There's Phantom Mandrake, there's the Flash Gordon, and
Lothar.
Lothar. Oh man, and there's like
Flash
another.
Gordon. I might have skipped this one.
It's too good.
I think I've watched it once in a while.
So that's Defenders of the Earth, which is actually a pretty cool team up. It's all the Leafhawk guys, which is Phantom, Mandrake, Lothar, and also Flash Gordon, which was all part of this thing called King Feature Syndicate, so which used to distribute all the cartoons and news strips. So these four are like an awesome team up thing that we haven't seen
It's
on
a
the
pretty
big
cool
screen.
team up, if you see
Yeah, it's pretty good. And they were saying that Sacha Baron Cohen wanted to do Mandrake the Magician, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
And if that could lead into a Defenders of the Earth, oh my God,
That
would be
awesome.
quite awesome. And they could make it really like maybe they could pastiche the 80s, you know. I don't know, like a cool, like as in a cool way to kind of do
In
it.
a cool throwback, self-aware way. Yeah, really fun. We could use that.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
feel like
never quite got what the Phantom's powers were. He
The
punches
Phantom-
dudes with the ring.
He has so he has
the ghost who walks.
He's the ghost. He's only the ghost who walks because the Phantom's legacy is to keep giving birth to new kids who then become the Phantom. So they think that he's just immortal. So he
Right.
can be killed, but then he comes back because his son is there.
And he wears a purple jumpsuit. So everyone's like, must be the same guy.
And Billy Zane.
How many purple jumpsuits can there be in the world?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, in the movies.
yeah. The movies are
Yeah,
too
Billy
good.
Zane was.
Being the ghost who walks is like you're taking a step back from a ghost because most ghosts can fly, and you're like, this ghost can walk. It's an
that's-
anti-superpower.
But he had a bunch of really cool friends like Nefertiti and Hero
Yeah.
and all these guys. Not Nefertiti, I want to say it was a dolphin. Anyway, moving on. So I want to talk about G.I. Joe and Transformers. So Hasbro, I was reading this really great article about G.I. Joe from The Hollywood Reporter. And it was basically about how Hasbro created the perfect loop, which is where toys promoted the TV show and TV shows promoted the toy.
Yeah.
And it was basically coming off a time where the military and, the army, especially after the Vietnam War, nobody wanted to, idolize the army and stuff. People weren't happy with it. And so they got this producer, Ron Friedman, to kind of come in and revitalize the G.I. Joe story. So they were G.I. Joes, like, they were toy figures, but they were getting really difficult to produce because oil rates were going up so high, and they needed that for the production of these toy figurines. So,
Right.
So what they did was scale down the toy to what we know them as now, which is that 3 and a 3/4.
Oh, they were bigger before.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
bigger, and they became the size now that we know and love.
Ah.
And then they created this TV show, and he's just like, you know what? I'm going to make them two factions. I'm going to make them the Cobras, which is the bad guys, and the G.I. Joes, which is the good guys. And that didn't exist. Can you believe it? Before this, they were just like random toys.
There was no storyline.
Yeah,
to
so
them.
they made
Because,
a storyline
they
and
didn't
stuff.
have an antagonist for G.I. Joe. And it was one guy first. There was
Yeah.
only one Joe.
It was only Cobra Commander. Oh no, it was only one Joe.
Joe who
Duke,
came in different
yeah.
costumes, and if he went for different adventures, then he got a different add-on to that.
Yeah.
And then when they were making like cartoons to promote that, they were like, now we have to give him a team and we have
Yeah.
to give him an antagonist.
Yeah.
So some guy was just like, how about we call him Cobra? And they're like, yeah, sure, that sounds. Again, like all of this is just like happening in big ass board meetings.
And he's like, I want them to have like each one should have a catchphrase. So one is Cobra, and the other one is Yo Joe. That's it. So that's what they kind of came up with, which was a friggin' miracle because then they sold like hotcakes, man. It was insane. Oh, well, they
Yeah.
sold like G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
Is actually a better way of putting it. But and they just created this perfect thing. And in the show, so basically a lot of the Saturday morning cartoons were regulated by the FCC, right? And a lot of them couldn't promote like toys in the show. That was part of the thing. So what they
Right.
did was they promoted the comic book, which was made by Marvel Comics, by the way. And so the comic book then went back to sales for toys, and
toys.
then it became this infinite crazy loop of. That's
Nice.
quite
And you could
insane.
jump in at any point. Like
Yeah.
we all watched the cartoons first, as in,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
you would think
No,
that the
but like,
toys came from the cartoon.
Yeah, but I think it was just so seamless, man.
Yeah.
My gosh. So it was quite awesome. And they did that similarly for Transformers, which is like the most melodramatic show
Yeah.
ever. They had some insane storylines. Even like when spoilers, Optimus Prime dies, it's like the saddest death. And then they had this where the Transformers movie so that's where he dies, and then Hot Rod becomes Rodimus Prime.
Yeah.
But then with the Allspark he comes back to life. Anyway, lots of stuff going on in the Transformers cartoons, but yeah, pretty cool, man.
Do you think the guys who were making the cartoons were like, we know we're making like silly shows to sell toys, but like let's go for it.
Yeah, let's
and
go for
make
it.
some like big
Which
stories.
is why you think, I think what the Transformers movies are just doing that. They're taking the most melodramatic, the such slow motion. I think it's just all in the vein of what Transformers used to be, which is why maybe it still works. It was the second largest grossing film of 2017 after The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But in spirit, the idea of like most of 80s and 90s, as we've discovered, is just like, doing it and seeing if people will, because there was no set pattern for them to follow. They were just like putting shit out because they had the mental wavelength to like sit in a meeting and say, let's do this, and let's see if
Yeah,
something
these
likes it."
Meetings must have been so great. Though.
Yeah,
because
Like a
they
bunch
have-
of middle-aged guys going like, Cobra Commander, let's do it.
Yeah.
I think they were just reliving their youth.
Yeah.
and
They
just
have
like,
bandwidth on the cable and they have kids to feed, so they basically like went on with it, and that's
Yeah.
what in hindsight created like something very glorious for us to like have
Yeah,
watched.
man, it's insane how, and I was thinking about this, how Saturday morning cartoons and the FCC's regulation has dictated how we watch cartoons. And it's affected us so much so that we started a company called Geek Fruit and we're doing all this stuff. But like a few rulings, like, that it had to be like educational and things like that, dictated what shows were being
Which is why
made.
Joe would have those like more you know type
The more you know,
segments.
yeah. The power, what knowing is half the battle.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
So, and even though it's like the most racist, jingoistic kind of thing you can think of, man, it was huge, man. And we would buy G.I. Joes. I don't know if you ever did this, but we would take a long thread
Of
and
course,
make a
and
G.I.
make
Joe.
them, make them propel across your room.
Of course,
the
man.
coolest. They were built for that with those like little caps in the hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like, so you can imagine how far-reaching those effects were. I mean, a small panel in the US somewhere deciding the FCC regulation,
Yeah.
and
Like
boom.
the fact that everyone is firing guns, but no one seems to get shot.
No one dies. So
Yeah, no one dies.
Another thing is that if a plane was shot out of the sky, you'd never see you'd see the plane explode, but you'll always see somebody parachuting
Yeah.
off in the distance. Isn't that hilarious? That's insane, right? Because they were just like, yeah, if someone dies, that kind of sucks. Even though it's like clearly a show that was, just
Even in
making
the
heroes
movies,
out of
nobody
war.
really
Yeah.
properly dies unless in the second one.
Yeah.
They just kill everybody in the second.
In the second
Yeah, I
never
know.
watched
Yeah,
it.
I saw that. Yeah.
Just like
In
dumping
the beginning,
yeah.
remember how Joseph Gordon-Levitt was Cobra Commander?
Yeah.
How bizarre is that?
Of all the people.
My God. Did not see that coming. Literally also because it's a twist in the film. By the way, spoilers. Anyway, moving on. Let's move into the 90s, perhaps. Okay, since we've covered... is there anything in the 80s that I'm forgetting? Centurions?
Centurions
was
and
great.
Power Extreme,
we
yeah.
just mentioned Thundercats.
Oh, man. Thundercats are loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go.
Was SWAT Cats also 80s or 90s?
It was 90s.
90s.
Yeah.
But
We'll get to that then.
Thundercats, man.
Thundercats.
So is Thundercats, this is just after watching the theme song again this morning. I'm just wondering, was Thundercats just basically an idea where somebody went for Andrew Lloyd Webber's cats and they said, what if we put guns and like swords in their hands? Because they look exactly like
Yeah,
cats
yeah.
from
Yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that always
Really?
just mean, yeah, it's possible.
And Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats are also...
Came out
yeah.
around the same time.
Yeah.
Think about it, guys.
There's a documentary on that as well. I
And
watched a lot
that
about
was when, like, as soon as it came out, it blew up, right? The musical?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean,
And
maybe
it
they
was
just took the same idea.
Also, it's because, like, so that means T.S. Eliot is
Invented
responsible.
Thundercats. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's insane to think about. And
Angelical Thundercat.
yeah,
Yes.
dude, that mashup is it's
It
impossible.
exists?
I can't imagine it doesn't.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
somebody
yeah,
must have
it
thought
probably
of it.
does, yeah.
Unless we've just broken like insane new ground here. But yeah, man, Thundercats, great. The Mumra was the villain, and the Eye of the Thundercat. Man, there've been so many spoofs on that show. I think they made a reboot as well, right?
There is a new show, which is the
Really?
prequel to it. Like,
Which is
as
quite
in,
good.
It's like they are on their original planet where Lion-O is still like a young prince and Tigero is his competition and Panthero is like a military guard and Panthera,
Pantera's the band.
no, Cheetah.
Chitara?
Yeah, she also like is a rogue renegade person and then there's some kind of it's nice, pretty good. I think it's still going on, I think.
He's not sure, but
Is this what, like a Netflix reboot?
No,
situation?
it's
it
like
was a
very-
reboot kind of thing. Yeah,
but it's like done with
Gritty
like more
reboot.
anime influence. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But pretty cool.
yeah.
And what's the name of the planet that? I don't know, do you remember? I can't remember. But it was
Thundera.
Thundera? Yeah, probably. That makes sense.
Again, it's like the first idea they come up with. Like, where are the Thundercats from? Thundera. Or if they were like Thunderpur se ho.
Oh God! And what was the big, gigantic ghost? I remember, and the ghost father of
That's his like
who's
father
that?
general, like who guides him.
yeah,
while,
who guides him because
yeah.
he's just a ghost, and he's there also in the lineup.
So he dies when like they first come to Earth, like whatever toxic planet that Earth is. When they're launching, this guy is like the one commanding the ship, and they're the first time they come on ground.
Right.
And he basically battles the bad guys. So all those other villains they have in the swarms and all.
Yeah.
They are chasing them from that planet, and they come and because they want the Eye of the Thundera.
I have Thundera. Yeah, the one on the sword.
Yeah, and then
The
they
hilt of
meet
the sword.
Mumra, and Mumra is like, "Come, I'll take you in my
The
camera."
infinity gem of the Thundercats.
Yeah,
was-
dude, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great show. And what was that? Snarf?
Yeah.
Just the most annoying thing. But
So
yeah.
in the reboot, thankfully, it's just like a cat who doesn't like say
Thank
anything.
God.
Nice.
Earlier
So the
they-
reboot did it well.
fixed it.
They fixed it. Yeah.
So there's an entire interview with the voice cast of Thundercats.
Nice.
And they're like, this guy was so funny and he just snap. I'm like, no, he was not. Like, probably you're all.
He was the Scrappy Doo.
But they all talk about how they're all drunk at the time, so I'm like, make it like it's the 80s. It's like
They were,
I
yeah, just high.
had to
They
get
were
through
pretty
it.
cooked up.
Yeah. All right.
They got to
So-
spend that Hasbro cash.
Yeah, this is a
But
Hasbro.
this wasn't Hasbro,
Yeah, this
but-
wasn't Hasbro, yeah, but may as well been. 80s, moving swiftly into the 90s. We got some of the shows I think again we're still like a little even more connected to, like SWAT Cats, the Radical
Okay.
Squadron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they had
With
two
the-
theme songs, is what one of my friends just accurately pointed
Really?
out. There's one which is and then
Which is
there's
not-
another one which is like yeah, there's that as a
the different
yeah, it's like
guitar-
it's like the reprise almost. It's just like
Yeah.
of the same theme. It's actually how Indiana Jones also has both those themes. Like John Williams made both of them.
Yeah.
And then Spielberg is just like, well, just combine
Yeah,
them. Anyway,
What are their names, the SWAT Cats?
Jake Clausen
Of course.
and something Furlong. Jake Clausen and
I do admit I watched it in
Chad
Hindi.
is the
Oh, you
So
watched it?
I remember Bade Meow, Chote Meow.
Meow and
what?
Bade
Yeah.
Meow and
Oh my
Chote
God.
Meow.
Billa Sheher.
Oh no.
Yeah.
They live in Billa Sheher.
Yeah.
That's
What was it?
Bilash.
What? Cat City, right? No,
Yeah.
I was in
Yeah.
English. Yeah. And great villains, man. Like what a nice rogues gallery they had.
Who were some of the villains?
So they had the guy who was the time turner guy. Where basically, he was one of the cats who could manipulate time. I can't remember his name, but basically, there's this one great episode in one of the seasons where he takes them back to the past, and they have to find like Excalibur. It's like in the medieval
Nice.
era. It was quite cool. Where I think Naveen will pull up the rogues gallery.
There's Dr. Viper, Burke,
Doc Viper, yes.
Dark Cat,
Dark Cat.
Nice.
Molly Mange, Past Masters.
Past Master.
Of course, yes.
I think he was
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Professor Hackle. Some of the greatest villains.
Yeah, some great villains in this show.
And the SWAT Cats' name were Razor and T-Bone.
Yeah, Razor and T-Bone, of course. But like
Yeah.
what their original names were, Jake Clausen and something. Chase
Yeah.
Furlong.
Chase for
Yes, there you go. And yeah, Razor and T-Bone.
Really, really
obviously.
cool names. Like Commander Charlie Farrell.
Commander Farrell, yeah, the guy who hates them.
Ulysses Farrell, sorry.
He's the guy who, what do you call it? He's the, I'd say the T-Bolt Ross of that show. Yeah.
With
Thunderbolt
like a
Ross,
square
yeah.
face. And
Yeah.
big-
And he hates the SWAT cats. And there was the one, the mayor's on the
Assistant.
assistant to the mayor who loves
Miss
her.
Kitty.
Miss Kitty. There you go. And both of these are vying for her affection.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. What a great
show.
Great show. Yeah. So SWAT cats obviously would be remiss to not mention the awesome gear on that show. My gosh.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had such cool like
that whole
ideas for-
transformation sequence was like, it was always pump your fist, like
and
jump up.
Scarlett Johansson does that in Avengers, but like Chote Meow. I can't I don't know. T-Bone did before
Yeah.
him by launching out of that
Yeah,
plane and going
yeah.
on a bike and
That was awesome, man.
and it would go perpendicular to the wall, upwards and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
on terrace.
Oh, 100%.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. They had some cool gear, like 100%.
They
And,
taught us
and like a
some
missile
stuff,
for
right?
everything.
And they used to work in a junkyard,
Yeah.
right? That's how
Yeah.
they
They're
would mine
a
all the
junk,
stuff.
yeah. So
And
everybody
that's
just-
where they had the secret area that they jump into and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the back of the
It's
junkyard.
like a
the
hangar,
launch pad,
yeah.
Yeah, the
In
launch
fact, the
pad.
garbage would make space for them to fly out. And then crawl up
Classic
again.
Batcave scenario.
Yeah.
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 Awesome. Let's move on. X-Men and Spiderman, the Fox shows that came out in the 90s, really, really faithful to the comic books. I think it's also because they just followed the exact same arcs, and a lot of my knowledge for X-Men, a comic I didn't read as much as probably Spider-Man, but came from that show, man. And they did all like Apocalypse, like arguably they've done all the arcs which are there in the movies, but better.
Yeah.
But
They've
better.
done Days of Future Past, they've done
Dark Phoenix as well.
the Dark Phoenix saga, they've done Bishop's saga, they've done everything. Apocalypse, Age of Apocalypse happens in the show, and they do an episode which is one of my favorite episodes from that show is when they actually go and kill off the X-Men. Like, Apocalypse ends all the X-Men. And Cable is in the future, and he's looking through the cube at the history of the X-Men. He's like, oh, all of them are dead? What? And then, like, he goes back into the past. It's, like, amazing. Like, it's just fantastic. And the fact that they were so faithful to the comics is how we remember them, like, Rogue with her hair. I feel like it's made its way a little bit into the movies.
Into the movies as well, yeah.
And also kind of spawned, like, other great shows like X-Men Evolution, which we can talk about much later on. But, like, that show, it's, because they knew that if they just follow the actual source material, they can actually do something.
And the best theme song ever.
Oh my god, so good. I should play it 1 second. Hold on. If I have it. Okay, but I can just sing it otherwise. It was really good. Yeah, that was the Saturday morning cartoon I can think of. Like that and Spiderman, man, so good.
So we had Fox Kids in India.
Yeah, Fox Kids. Right.
Which would air these?
Yeah. It was both are Fox shows, and it was awesome because the Peter Parker on this Spider-Man show was the closest to the original, like what I thought Peter Parker was like. Like really funny. What I feel like Tobey Maguire didn't have in those movies as much.
Because he was
Andrew Garfield was slightly closer, and now to what's his name? Tom Holland is man. We're already forgetting this. Much closer to this Peter Parker. Just really awesome adaptation. They did everything in that. Venom, Michael Morbius. They did everything.
These were both very long-running shows also, right?
About 4 to 5 seasons each. That's
long.
Longest running Marvel show, I think, at the time for X-Men. Yeah, definitely.
The whole Venom arc in that whole thing was like, it was 3 episodes long,
Yeah,
I
it was
believe.
3 episodes. It was basically John Jameson, which is J. Jonah Jameson's son, goes to the moon, picks up the symbiote and comes back. And then he just torments
They've done this in the movie as well, right? Because he's the space guy who comes back.
But in Spider-Man 3, that's why I was really pissed off also. Spider-Man 3, one of the reasons which kind of bummed me out was the symbiote just appears on Earth out of nowhere. It was just a meteor that just lands on her. But here there's like a good arc, and J. Jonah Jameson is also like, they humanize him a lot because his son is like this military hero and he's not getting as much press as Spider-Man has. So I think, that kind of also irks him. So they just made the...
And who does it get to in the movie? Who's Topher Grace?
Topher Grace, he's Eddie Brock. Yeah, he's the original Eddie Brock. Yeah. And then even in this cartoon, like it follows the same story where the symbiote, which is sentient, obviously wants to bond with the greatest living host, and that's Spider-Man because he's like. He's so, he's already superpowered and stuff. But then, it goes to Eddie Brock. And Eddie Brock is anyway this kind of rejected guy from society. And when it fuses with him and it meets Spider-Man, it wants to leave him. And Eddie Brock has another reason to be really pissed off with Peter Parker. So I think that, just nailed that entire saga.
Like they did the first, like, the Venom screaming on his body while trying to detach.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy animation.
Really, really good animation.
And he's walking again. He was also walking across the wall in a perpendicular manner. I just like...
You have a thing for just defying gravity. Yeah. Okay, let's take a step back. Slightly earlier in the decade, Captain Planet and the Planeteers.
Yes.
Let's talk about this.
Captain Planet.
Amazing theme song.
Amazing theme song.
Straight
again.
Up. Amazing theme song.
Which again, like, it's always great when a theme song explains everything about the show.
Yeah,
so you can just watch anything and you're like, oh, okay, cool, got it.
Captain Planet, who's he? Oh, he's a hero.
Yeah.
What number is he going to take pollution down to?
Zero.
What? Okay, great. So I think that's, and it starts with Earth, fire, and then it's like almost Michael Jackson beat it kind of.
You always feel sad when that last girl
Marty.
comes and goes like Marty, goes like heart, and you're like, well,
It's a
you're
boy,
a
by the
lame
way.
one. It's a boy.
Was
it a boy?
It's a boy. It's a boy. Yeah.
He's like, hard. No one gives a shit about it.
Yeah, I know.
But hard, bro.
Clearly the lamest one.
I feel like he'd work really well in 2018.
So have you seen a Robot Chicken sketch on the Planeteers
No.
where the heart one, like, everybody's laughing at him and then he convinces everybody with his heart power to kill themselves. He shit up.
Dude, the other really dark take was Don Cheadle as Captain Planet.
Yes,
Have you seen
so
that?
the funny guy
Oh
one.
my god,
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah, it's just really good. I think they're so spoofable. Like, these shows.
But like,
Okay.
it was again like one great message about like Earth conservation.
It's probably the most
It was
like
the
well-intentioned
best. Yeah,
show. It's not
exactly.
selling toys. In fact, it's saying like save the planet. But clearly we didn't listen
But
because here we are.
No, but here's the thing though.
No, I would
Again,
listen.
They made that show basis per, I mean, it was created saying that, the FCC wants to kind of have more educational kind of angle to it. So they created that show from scratch saying like, let's make environmental consciousness like, cool. And they did it with a mullet. But they did it nonetheless. And just like, awesome concept. They have rings. Like, completely fresh.
It's a pretty cool
Yeah.
concept.
I'd never spill oil in an ocean now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's her name? Loot and plunder.
Yeah.
Little on the nose. Again, just really on the nose.
Wasn't Captain Planet's color? I get they were making him green because he's an
He was
eco-friendly hero.
turquoise.
Yeah, but he had the weirdest shades of green. Like his skin color looked like he was ill. This
Yeah,
guy-
yeah.
His
It's like-
hair was green.
His
his hair was like a nice.
His face was blue and his shirt was red.
His face was just like
And yellow in his
He
weird
had,
bluish
he had
green.
undies and then he
Yellow.
had the yellow kind
Yeah,
of the Earth's kind
The
of
Earth
thing.
logo,
And okay,
yeah.
just to be sure, he was totally getting it on with Gaia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely happening.
of course.
That was more than alluded to. She's just like, you have to save Captain Planet, no matter whatever you let the planet die, but save Captain Planet. And all you had to do to save Captain Planet was throw a bucket of water on him, like clean water on him. And then Captain Pollution is there. Oh my god, that was the best episode.
I
Yeah.
remember Captain Pollution.
Yeah.
What does he look like?
He's
Is
the
he
opposite.
brown?
He's
Opposite of
brown.
him.
Yeah, of course, he's brown.
Brown and black.
Which,
and
first of all, is again quite racist. Good, but yeah, but amazing, man. What a concept. What a
Solid
show.
show.
And the Planeteers.
Oh, and they were all global.
yeah,
yeah.
it was
It's
a
a-
multi. It was quite a diverse show.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah,
it
from
was
literally all
can
over
you,
the world.
Can you name all of them? I can. I
There
think.
was the
There was Kwame, who is Earth.
Yeah.
yes, and
Okay.
she's from.
Kwame.
Wait,
Kwame is the guy.
He was the black
the
guy.
first guy. Oh, right,
He's the black guy
yeah.
from Africa.
Correct.
And straight up,
There was
just
the-
from Africa. Yeah. Then there was
The redhead dude
Wheeler.
from New York.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Who was a fire guy.
Yeah,
Because
fire
he's
guy.
American.
And that's right, yeah.
Then there's Linda?
Who had a thing with Wheeler?
With Wheeler, yeah.
Of course.
She was, and was that, by the way, sorry, that just struck me that she was from the Soviet Union.
Goki.
What?
No, that's I remembered one name.
No, that's Guy. Guy was Asian. She was water.
Yeah.
No, but that blows my mind. Was this like
It was a
post-Cold War kind of thing?
Like
Yeah.
we should all be friends.
Oh my god, that's blowing my
This is
mind.
a show that
Yeah.
we still need today. When we're saying like we need diversity, the whole Earth needs to like get together and save our planet.
Yeah, it's still
Well,
quite relevant.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Linka,
Leonardo...
Linka.
Linda. Not Linka. Guy and Mati. Yeah.
Wheeler,
Weird
Kwame,
names.
Guy,
And Mati was from South America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So there was no Indian basically on this show.
How dare they?
There was so
Well,
Guy
there was Captain
basically
Pollution.
Asian.
Wow, they were-
Whoopi Goldberg was a guy.
What?
Yeah,
No way.
right here.
Are
That
you
is
shitting me?
Yeah.
Who else was in the
Whoopi
cast?
Goldberg was Gaia. That's
That's
insane.
amazing. And it makes sense.
Dude,
And Ed Asner as Hawkins Gridley.
oh,
Ed Asner
Ed
as
Asner, the guy
Tim
from
Curry
Up, man. Tim Curry?
as Malia.
What a funky cast.
Cast, man.
Yep.
Holy crap. I'm sure if we pull up the cast list on all
Meg
these shows.
Ryan.
What?
Martin Sheen. This is blowing my mind as well.
Were they all like one
Jeff
episode?
Goldblum, guys.
No way.
Verminous
really-
Scum.
Oh, yeah, Verminous Scum, yeah, of course.
Yep.
That was Jeff Goldblum?
Dude, we need to watch the show
Yeah,
again.
I think we
And
need to
wasn't
again.
Leonardo DiCaprio kind of saying that he wanted to make a live action version of this show?
That would kill, dude. I
It
would
would
totally
kill,
watch it.
yeah.
Oh my god. it would
Sting
be
also
amazing.
was there in one of the
My
episodes.
god. This is
What
just
a-
a star-studded
that's
cast.
everybody-
I think it's
come.
good. They got them on the environmental
Malcolm
end.
McDowell.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just like, I'm going to keep reading names.
Oh.
That's like a Simpsons level guest cast.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
really good.
Man.
Damn.
We might have like overwatched it in
All
a
right.
way, like, you know.
Uh, Just as a fun thing, before we end this segment and the show, what do you dream casting for Captain Planet? Give
Oh,
me all.
nice.
Give me all 5 Planeteers and Captain Planet and Gaia. I have Gaia. I'm going to start with Gaia.
Okay.
Beyonce. Boom. Go.
Boom, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
we will keep Captain Planet for the end. Let's
Yeah,
keep
keep Captain Planet for the end.
Okay.
So start with Kwame. Good Kwame. Don't say John Boyega.
no, not,
but yeah.
not John Boyega. The guy from who's the guy who played in Justice League? His name?
Yeah, Cyborg.
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
So we could do okay.
They're
Let's
young,
let's
they're
do
young.
okay.
Are-
Let's do
are
this.
we
Let's do
being
it. Okay,
racist?
let's
They're
do
not
it.
black kids.
No, they have to be black.
Wait, no. Why not? Let's also change it. Like, take them from whatever country we want.
Take them
Sure.
from whatever
We
country.
need an Indian in there.
Yeah, we need an Indian. We need a new Planeteer for sure. But that
Yeah.
means a new ring. So actually, just save that for the 7th Planeteer or the 6th Planeteer in that case. So for Kwame, I think if we Chiwetel Ejiofor would be a great. Like, imagine the Planeteers have grown old and
up,
jaded. This is the 2018 Planeteers, right? And and I think he would be a great Kwame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all discover the ring again.
And they should be jaded. Like, when now they're all grown up and they're like, yo, all that stuff we did was of no use.
None of
Look
it
at these
mattered.
guys.
And, okay, let's get to the next one. Wheeler
Because
and
Trump is still the
Linka.
president in this universe, right?
Yeah.
This is like,
So Wheeler and Linka are like a estranged couple now.
Where's
because
Linka from now?
Linka's
from Russia.
From Russia.
Soviet.
Oh, still relevant. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So who could
Scarlett
Scarlett
Johansson.
Johansson. Yeah, that's not bad.
I was gonna say like Rebecca Ferguson. Do you remember Rebecca Ferguson? She's in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or Alicia Vikander.
Not bad.
Yes.
She's like, she's dusky enough to carry other ethnic roles.
She
was,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
She's a Tomb
definitely.
Raider as well.
Or Olga Kurylenko
From
from Quantum
Max
of Solace.
Payne, she was in. Yeah, and Quantum of Solace.
Yeah.
then Wheeler.
Wheeler, who could be Wheeler? That's a
Some
good
like
one. Come on.
blonde-haired
Like
douchebag.
like a Chris Evans type guy.
Yeah.
He's essentially
A
Chris Evans.
young Chris
Chris Pratt.
Evans.
Chris
I
Pratt.
nominate Chris Pratt for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Chris
Or
Pratt.
the guy who plays Archie right
Yeah,
now.
he's kind of like
Grant
the goofy.
Gustin.
Grant
Oh,
Gustin's a good one.
I don't like the Archie.
You don't like Archie?
The current
What's his
Archie,
name?
the guy-
Yeah,
That's
KJ
because-
Appa.
That's because Grant Gustin is Archie.
Yeah.
But he's the
Yeah.
Flash right now.
Yeah.
He's also the Flash, I feel like. He's Barry Allen.
Yeah.
He's great.
Now
He's
Marty.
Okay, wait, no. We have to go on a Gee now.
Yeah.
Dude, we gotta make Gee
Which
Indian,
one was
bro.
Gee again?
Gee is the Asian.
Yeah,
Asian girl.
She's Desi Gee.
Water.
Desi.
Let's do
the
Oh,
worst.
Lord.
No, Desi Ghee could, or a Ghee. Okay, give me the Asian Ghee and the Desi Ghee. All right. So Ghee.
Lucy Liu.
No, she's too old for this. I think.
The girl from The Last Jedi.
Jedi. Yeah, exactly.
Rose.
Mary Catran. Rose is her name in the
in the thing. What's
Mary
her?
Catran.
Mary Catran, huh?
I think.
Yeah.
Mary Catan?
Catan.
There's a tran there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have some
Mary Tran something. I don't know.
Okay.
We're the worst. We don't know any names
I know.
anymore.
And
Tom Holland.
And we're struggling to pick like global cast members.
Yeah,
so
and-
shame on us.
Yeah,
and
shame
shame
on-
on Hollywood.
Yes. Hollywood is the
for having
first
so
to
many
pick, yeah.
people.
And okay, Indian Ghee, come on.
Who's a cool lady from nowadays?
Deepika?
No, we need a good actress. We need a
She's
good
not
actress.
bad. She's gotten.
We have only Vidya Balan who can act.
Or Konkana Sen Sharma, who I love.
Ooh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Huh.
That would be good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Or we could have made Marty from India, man, actually, because,
Yeah.
yeah.
हम इस देश के माटी से पैदा हुए हैं. Even that makes
we
sense.
should just make Captain Planet in Hindi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaptan Sansar.
Kaptan Sansar. And, Virat Kohli as,
course,
Captain
yeah.
Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would play Captain Planet? Come on. This is a tough one.
The Rock. Boom.
No, he's too muscular. This guy's got to be swell.
So he can buck down. Or Amir Khan.
Christian Bale.
I was going to say Christian Bale as well.
Right?
I was thinking Christian Bale.
He's got that weird intensity
He'd
where
be
like
too weird.
yeah,
Captain Planet is supposed to be like this really positive guy. Like a Zac Efron.
maybe a Zac Efron.
Yeah, I like Zac Efron. Dude, I really love Zac
Disaster
Efron.
Artist has a Zac Efron cameo and totally missed it.
What? Oh shit!
Yeah.
Nice. I have to catch this.
It's great.
He's so good in Greatest Showman. I mean, as much as I don't like Greatest Showman, I actually really like it also. Anyway, going
You
on.
go to
moving.
theaters and watch it.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And I went for a show which didn't have an intermission.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in PVR.
Go
Nice.
check out Jumanji.
No, not yet. Can we please go today?
Yeah, let's do
Sorry,
it.
okay, we just made a plan.
Yeah, I'll meet you after that.
Okay, cool. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So last, come on, Captain Planet. Give me your last Captain Planet. I'm going with Zac Efron.
Okay, I'm
I
still
think
staying with The
Christian
Rock.
Bale- I feel like you need a weirdo. So like maybe or like Willem Dafoe. Like, you need Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
He's a great Captain Planet.
Yes.
Like, you need a weird, eccentric guy.
Yeah, I was going to say even like somebody like Dan Stevens, you know.
Oh, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
Dan Stevens.
Yeah.
It's not weird. But I don't remember Captain Planet being weird. Like, he was just like, you know
No,
what?
but I think, like, in
righteousness
today's
and
world-
joy.
If you need-
what's the name? The Purple Man. What's his?
David Tennant.
David
David
Tennant.
Tennant, yeah.
As a Scottish Captain Planet.
Who is
God.
Scrooge McDuck?
Yeah, exactly. He's Scrooge McDuck. Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
yeah, chalo, good. And Gaia, who said Beyonce, 100%. Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm digging it. I'd watch that.
I
movie.
like this. Let's make this movie.
Let's make this movie. All right. So, any notable mentions? I feel like we must mention Batman the Animated Series and The Simpsons, but we're not going to talk about them in depth because they deserve their own episodes at some
Yes.
point, which we will.
Yeah.
At some point when The
TMNT as well,
Simpsons.
we have to come up.
Oh man, we gotta do one episode on that.
Yeah.
But and then we have when we did Out of the Shadows. Technically, you guys can go back and check out some of the other episodes if you feel like we've missed something. We've done an episode on Samurai Jack, the Pop-Up Girls. We've talked about TMNT. We've done a bunch of these shows earlier. So you can just scroll back on our previous episodes. Cool. I think that's our episode for now. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys have any thoughts on other cartoons that we missed out on, I mean, unfortunately, we can't cover all of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot we must have missed.
Yeah, we must have. There's too many. There's
Yeah.
just way too many. Please write to us. Contact geekfruit@gmail.com. Tell us about the cartoons that we missed and the cartoons that you love and what you thought about them. And if you have any cool trivia like this,
Give us your Captain Planet Fantasy Cast.
give us your Captain Planet Fantasy Cast. Yeah, that would be great. Mail it to us. Contact geekfruit@gmail.com. You can go to our website, geekfruit.in, and you can also
talk to us on the
social media,
socials.
on the socials. Yeah.
At Geekfruit HQ everywhere.
That's right.
And you can talk to us individually on Twitter as well. I'm at DinksThinks. Naveen is
At @no_Rona.
Tejas in and as.
At Tejas Menon.
Yeah, exactly.
Also follow IVM Podcast for cool.
That's
podcasts.
right. Yes, please
Follow
do that.
him, Codcast.
Podcasts. All right, cool. Thanks, you nerds.
As you can see, we have a podcast listener in his natural habitat. Millions of years of evolution have led him to this point. He's on his way to work, and listening to podcasts makes his miserable day better. He will now head to work and use all his knowledge to communicate with other colleagues and possibly future mates. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out all the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.